And welcome back to NFG Podcast with Jay the Usual. It's Jay the Usual with NFG Podcast here live with the Superbowl-Week UFO event. This is part 2 of a 3-part mini-series we're dropping tonight. And if the event continues, this will become a series, an actual series, that will be exclusively shown on Jay the Usual Multimedia. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our updates on information about this particular topic and anything related to it, as we try to cover as much information as possible that is as reliable as possible, so that way we can all figure out together whether or not we're safe, because apparently no one seems to think that is an important thing to tell us anymore, at least when it comes to people working in positions of knowledge and power, let's say. So, last episode we talked about the Chinese spy balloon. Now, there was some information that I've just been updated on that we left out. So I'm going to touch base on that Chinese spy balloon that was shot down a week ago. I won't reiterate the information that I already mentioned. So you can check out that last video and get that information. This new information hasn't been posted yet in our videos, but it has been posted from other sources, and we've gone through so many major sources and then backtracked other sources that to say this all comes from one source would be it would be a null point. We wouldn't have enough time to catch up on the live videos, and it's only me doing this pretty much. So, if I can get assistance, I definitely will start naming more and more sources. But the ones that I can name, or the ones that I think that they don't have a lot of views and need help and stuff like that, I'll definitely mention. Or if something really big comes up that they find out, I'll mention that, of course. But this particular piece of information was actually shared by every major news source. I went to CNN, Fox, and anything you can think of. Plus, I also go to the local news of any of any particular place that's mentioned where these things are either being seen or shot down. Now, keep in mind there are 4 objects so far that have been shot down that we know of, which means there are definitely more up there as we speak, and more that have been up there before this and during that we weren't told about, and I would imagine ones that have been shot down that we're also not being told about because they are heavily classified. Now, that being said, the reason I'm doing this video and all these other subsequent videos is to figure out whether or not we're safe, 1, and 2, whether or not when we're being told we're safe, in what way are we safe? Are we safe in all ways? And are there things we should be looking out for if not? So, that being said, let's get back into the details of the Chinese spy balloon. So, HD cameras were also found on this. Now, this wasn't mentioned before, but this was mentioned on all major news sources, and that's actually where I got it from. I didn't get this one from a small source. There were also... Let's see if I wrote this down here. Yes, I did. The cameras were high res, which would mean that they were at least over 1080p, or shooting at over 40 to 60 frames a second, or the footage was somehow manipulated in order to make it more available to read to the human eye. So, for instance, when they use certain cameras on jets, they may appear strange to you and I, but for somebody that knows what they're looking at, if there's a temperature differential or whatever different recording styles that they have, it can help you kind of tell different details about whether it be weaponry or vehicles that you're seeing, but you yourself can't actually delineate what the hell it is. So let's see here. Okay, so that's all the details about the Chinese spy balloon we have now. This is the large detail. This is the biggest detail. I can't believe I actually waited on this. So there were parts on this spy balloon that had written English on it, and not written in pen. It was stylized. It looked like commercial writing. Now, that could be faked. That could be an indication that it comes from a company of origin, whether it be English, UK, Australian, some English, a country that has a company that uses English in its corporation and its production of products. that are used in flight operations with whatever the hell these things are, whether they be drones or balloons. It's very important, key information that I almost can't believe I waited to mention that. I have this all scribbled all over the place. Normally I don't write on a paper this small, but information's been pouring in so quickly that this is literally the style I've been having to do this. Now, the next 3 objects we're going to be talking about, and the last object, the one shot over Lake Huron in Michigan, or at least in the Michigan area, over Lake Huron. So it was, I believe it was shot over the water. That's going to be the one we're going to talk about in the 3rd video, because that actually I have the most details on, oddly enough, even though it's the most recent. And with it being far different from the other ones that I'm seeing, including the octagon shape, the strings hanging from it, which were similar to the type of antenna that I believe they found on the Chinese spy balloon, but at the same time, it's tough to really tell whether or not that's just speculation on the part of a general that had mentioned it on, I believe it was CNN. It could have been Fox, so don't quote me on that, but it's definitely one of the two. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the second object that was shot down. So this is the object that was shot down after the Chinese spy balloon. About 5 days later, I believe it was. Yeah, it's been 3 days that we've been shooting down things. So that would be 4 or 5 days. All the dates, all the times, that stuff, I did not get those particular details just because I would imagine that they're very highly available. If I do come across them in my research, because I have to stay as up to date as possible with this, or if somebody could mention them in the comments, I will keep them in my notes so that way that can be part of the report, and maybe we can keep this as a part of history. I mean, I don't know how important this whole event is, but it seems pretty strange to me. I got to be honest with you. And as a drone pilot and as somebody that's seen and recorded these things for quite some time, it's bothersome. I'm sure it's bothering a lot of you out there. And definitely comment and talk to each other, and also let us know at the at Jay the Usual Multimedia what it is that you'd like us to cover, information you think we should know, even if it's something that goes against what we're talking about, because that's if it's helpful to this particular story. And there's obviously going to be a lot of weird things going on, a lot of cults, a lot of religious stuff that are going to go way overboard, a lot of war fucking propagandists and shit. Just bear with me, and you don't necessarily have to trust anything I say either. And I feel like that's a mark of trust nowadays, that you can check out other sources if you want. I have no qualms with that whatsoever, so long as you allow us to also look at that information, so that way we can learn together. That's what free speech is about, and that's what this is about. So it's about staying safe, folks. How the hell do you not know? You gotta talk to each other, otherwise you ain't gonna know shit. So here we go. So the second object was shot several days later over Alaska. Now, from details that I've attained so far, it appears that they had this on radar for 12 to 24 hours prior to it shooting down over the Prudhoe area. Horseshoe would be the name of the town within Prudhoe Bay area of Alaska. So if you want to look that up for yourself and get yourself a location idea. I was telling people, I was like, if I had the opportunity right now, I'd fly right down there and I'd figure out what the fuck is going on. And even if they wouldn't let me down there, just enough to talk to somebody. Because the information that I'm able to gather like this is only because I have the spare time to do it. So if I was at some place where there were people that were actually there, the information I could glean would be endless. Not that I'm like some special person or anything, but I mean, come on. If I'm getting this, what else is out there? That's what I really want to know. But alright, so we have a description of the object. It's a silver cylinder with no means of propulsion visible to the pilot of the F-22 that flew around the object at a fast speed, which I don't understand that. Now, I haven't looked up the loitering speed specifically of an F-22, but even just knowing in general F-22 information about these jets, the loitering speed is incredibly fast. It has to be, because these things are so insane. Now, I saw footage of an F-16 just moments ago that was just showing off a little bit, right? Pilot of an F-16, and it looked as if he had dropped napalm bombs because of how much dust he'd kicked up off the road just from coming up like 100 feet away from the road, and then just, and the dust was, woof. I'm like, I thought it was a bomb at first. I'm like, what the hell is this? Doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, that's just fucking dust. I'm like, this is fucking insane. So, and like, keep in mind, this is as live as we can get on YouTube right now. Once we get to 1,000 followers on this particular channel, we've done it before, but a lot of things have happened over the course of the pandemic and stuff. Don't even get me started. We may even talk about that again someday, but not today. So, I'm trying to make sure that we get this information to you as fast as possible. So, maybe stuttering a little bit, the presentation being a little strange, maybe once in a while I walk off cam for a few seconds. I'm gonna try to stay as keyed in as possible. Is only because I'm trying to get the information to you as quickly as possible, faster than anybody else can, hopefully. I'm not trying to win a race or anything, but I am trying to make sure that people are safe. And right now, if I don't feel safe, I'm sure a lot of people that aren't getting this information don't feel safe either. So the traveling height of this silver cylinder over the Alaskan area of Prudhoe Bay at Dead Horse, which Dead Horse was actually named, according to the reports that I looked at, historical records, and I think one was a interview about it, said that it was named after a company that had operated there for, it was a truck delivery company. So that's how that area is known. It's a very small population. Now, these areas have oil fields that have vast wealth, but they also are right on the border of where you'd be crossing into our air-regulated space. So whether or not the focus was the oil fields, maybe their new technology that somebody was testing out privately to monitor those oil fields, because there's only literally 20 people per, I think, like 100 square miles or some crazy shit out there, then that could be something they're getting shot down because they're not monitored all the time. Autonomous vehicles, it's not legal to do that, but it is possible to have an object, which they're actually making some for inside your house, where you can have like a Roomba, but it's flying, and it's like a security drone and just flies around your house, like automatically just looking around and shit. But as soon as people were talking about that Roomba, that took a picture of a lady's crotch and started sharing it all over Facebook for some reason, it was probably a hacker, I would imagine, and probably internally from that company, because if they didn't want to say who the hell it was, that's probably what was going on. But I can't say anything about that because I really don't know. I only heard the initial story, but the tagline. But anyway, another interesting idea about these objects, by the way, is that they are things like that, like drones or weather balloons, but they're being hacked, and nobody knows why. And that's why they're flying off and then popping back into radars, because they're going up in elevation and then down in elevation, because whoever the hacker is testing out the capabilities of these fucking things. There's a lot of really weird shit that's possible when you start talking about this, because space and air, when you're talking about the atmosphere of Earth, is a plane that humans aren't naturally used to, because we're obviously always on a flat plane of Earth usually, unless of course you're being flipped on your ass for some reason, or you're some sort of circus performer or whatever the hell. Plenty of sports out there do that crazy shit. But the whole point is, when you start really looking at what you can do in open just movement in air, or when gravity's affecting you, when it isn't, when you can change gravity's effect on you with the way you're maneuvering your vehicle, there's a lot of strange shit you can do. Now, our capabilities for flying a fast F-22 to see if there's a pilot inside of these silver cylinders or whatever the hell is out there is confusing to some people out there. It's like, well, why wouldn't you send out an Apache helicopter or another drone to see what the hell is in there first before you start shooting the shit out of it? And then maybe also you won't damage it, which is why they didn't shoot 50 cals into this stuff and other different types of bullets that they could have used. A missile is more of a clean hit. Now, the missiles were armed. Initially, the report that I received was that they weren't, which I thought that the Chinese spy balloon was shot with an unarmed missile, because I didn't see any explosion, just the balloon popping. But supposedly they were armed. price of an unarmed versus armed missile is over $400,000, from $100,000 to $500,000, roughly, give or take. They do have multiple capabilities, heat tracking. They can change the type of tracking. There's also multiple additions that have been made over time with software, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't know about a lot of this shit. So, if I'm saying something that is incorrect, please correct me in the comments below. So, it was traveling at a height of 40,000 feet, roughly at the speed of the wind. So, 20 to 40 miles per hour when it was first monitored by ground radar. And at 40,000 feet, that is directly in line of path of some of the highest mid to high heights for commercial aviation. Primarily jets that would have people in them. I'm not sure if military would use that or not. I'm not 100% how. I don't really know a lot about military operations in the air. I do know what you're supposed to avoid. Other than that, I'm really not sure. I am a drone pilot, but I'm not some military. I'm looking at my hair. Come on, you know. So anyway, is that allowed now? I don't even know. You know, shit's strange nowadays. I have no idea what the hell's going on. So, I'll tell you what I do know. At least what I've been told to know. Shot down over the ocean near Prudhoe Bay, size of a small car. So this is different than the Chinese spy balloon. Chinese spy balloon was a 200-foot balloon with a 5,000 to 8,000 pound payload. 5,000 to 6,000 pounds or more of that was solar panels. Doing what? I don't know. Controlling the motors of these things, because it was actually had a way to control how it was moving. So that Chinese spy balloon went where it wanted to go. Let's put it that way. This is what the report says. This isn't what I'm not just making this shit up. So, no signs of propulsion to the pilot of the F-22 that buzzed it and shot it down. There was, let's see, a Sidewinder missile A9X that was shot at this thing. Now it seems like this particular missile has been shot at every single one of these objects, all of them so far, which I think is important. And I also think that it's only been the U.S. that's been shooting these things is also important, especially since you had one all the way in Yukon, Canada, which, according to the reports that I've seen, because I don't know personally, which I know is going to sound foolish, but I just have not had the time. I've literally just tried to get these details that are being released about this subject. The Yukon is in the northern part of Canada. So if that's the case, why is the U.S. up there? Wouldn't, in my mind, a Canadian outfit with F-16s or something, or the, I don't know much about all of this, so you gotta understand. Or maybe NORAD. I was under the understanding that NORAD had their own shit up there, that if they seen some missiles traveling like that, they would be another way to stop nuclear war from happening. Apparently I was incorrect about this shit. That's only a radar system. So, the details on that were really scarce. There were pictures that were shared. I don't know why they've been doing this all the way up to the fourth object, and it's actually kind of pissing me off, because some of these major media places should know better. They're sharing pictures from the Chinese spy balloon and sharing it when they're sharing information and stories about the new objects that are being shot down, because they don't have images of these things. So they don't know what else to do, or they're trying to drum up attention and saying that they're either looking the same, which is dead fucking wrong, and that's being suggested by somebody political if it is. And if it isn't, then it's dead wrong to do anyway, because why are you suggesting to people that's what they look like when there could be more of these things? And if they crashed on their own, because they're already in weird places in the sky that don't make any sense, wouldn't you want to know what the hell they look like? Wouldn't you want to not touch something that you don't know what the hell is in it? So people were asking too, is it possible that there's some sort of viral or chemical warfare going on inside of these balloons? And again, shot down, you see this big puff of smoke. Whether or not these missiles are armed, I mean, what the hell's in the balloons? I mean, we're starting to learn a little bit about the hardware, but the software part's probably never going to come to us. Maybe another 20 years or some crazy shit like that. And if there's something in those balloons, right? Do you think that they're going to tell us when they're the ones that were shooting it over our air and water? I don't know. I don't know how that works. So all of a sudden, and I haven't had time to really touch base with this third object here. This third object that was shot over the Yukon. Not a lot of details, but they say that it looked the same as the second cylinder, same size, the size of a small car. No visible propulsion. Flying 20 to 40 miles per hour over land. At a height of 40,000 feet, yet again. Very odd to be at the same exact height, yet again. Very fucking odd. Unless you're trying to do something specific and make it look like it's something like you're observing weather. Or maybe for some reason you thought you could hide in a cloud pattern that was supposed to be there and then disappeared. A lot of weird shit that happens up there. Now, this third object that was shot over the Yukon, Canada, was shot down by an F-22 yet again, but from the U.S. And Justin Trudeau went out on Twitter and said we ordered the shooting down of an object, and yet they sent United States airplanes, jets. So they said that the United States jets were closer, yet the UFOs in the Yukon. I don't know. Somebody's gonna have to show me a map, and I'm sure there is one. I just haven't seen it. So that way I can understand what the hell they mean by that, because that to me is contradictory and doesn't make any sense. So the Yukon, Canada one was shot over land. Now the Prudhoe Bay one was the silver cylinders. They were both silver cylinders according to these reports. Possibly whitish, they said, so could be Tic Tacs looking objects. Not saying that they are Tic Tacs. I'm saying that visually, they said that they looked like cylinders that were white or silvery. I can only tell you what they're telling us. Now, NORAD specifically, radar sensed this third object over the Yukon. At least that was mentioned in reports. Hasn't been mentioned in the others. But I would imagine it involved in them, but I don't know how much. I just found it odd that they mentioned it specifically in the third objects one, and also the fact that the both of these objects looked so similar right away. Both have no supposed style propulsion, but this Chuck Schumer is saying that they're balloons, that they're spy balloons, but smaller than the balloon that we shot down over North Carolina, the Chinese spy balloon. Now, the Chinese spy balloon pieces were picked up by a hovercraft at Myrtle Beach, actually, or at least that's where they docked after they received the pieces or got what they could. The silver cylinder in Alaska had broken through an ice field on the bay, according to reports, and very difficult to try to get pieces from all of this. I mean, you have to send down UAVs that don't freeze, and it's just an incredibly, it's going to be an expensive and arduous process, but it's probably already done, and they close out an entire airstrip and all of the air space around that area while they were looking over the debris field for more, but also keeping an eye on the sky around. This was, I believe, F-22s and possibly F-16s were scrambled as well, and also local airport, I believe there was like a helicopter and a few other planes that were sent up to watch as well, or look around, for these pieces on this debris field, because apparently when it hit the ice field, it shattered. So, and this is the strange thing to me. They said they shot this object, all right? They hit it, it starts to go down, and when it hits the ice, it shatters. So it didn't shatter when it got hit with the missile, but it shattered when it hit the ice. That didn't make any sense to me. And also the fact that they had it break through the ice, but yet it shattered. It's like, how did both happen? Was it already shattered in the air and then the pieces just spread out that way and that's what they meant? I don't know. I'll tell you what is weird. With the Roswell incident, and I believe there was a video from a few years prior to that of an object hitting the ground and shattering, which I believe was a sandy field. And you would have thought that there would have been a plume of sand that would have came up with it or something like that. And it was reported in both that there were objects that hit the ground and seemed to shatter like glass. It was, I can't verify whether or not that actually was the Roswell thing. This stuff is not my forte. I'm just trying to tell you what I remember and what I know from what I've been told recently from this. Okay, so this next video that we're going to put out, because this is already running up onto a half an hour, is going to be about the third object. The third object was initially reported as a silver cylinder. Okay, but now this is where things are going to get freaky, and I don't want people to start panicking. I don't want people to start freaking the hell out. I don't want people to start saying, "Hey, Josh said there's something terrible going to happen." I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is what we're told. Okay, now the third object is the one we know the most about right now. Okay, that we have the most details on. Doesn't mean that we don't know more right now about the Chinese spy balloon, the one we got first, or other stuff. It's just I don't understand the 5,000 to 8,000 pound solar panels. Doesn't mean it could just mean I'm stupid. I don't know. Here's something scary that I need you to understand. There was a report that came out about the first object, the UFO, not the Chinese spy balloon, but the first UFO, the second object that was seen, that is possibly a spy ship, okay? The one over Prudhoe Bay, Alaska. The initial report that came out for that was not for anything flying. Radar in the ocean. This is the first report. Radar either in the ocean or from land radar said that there might be a submarine in the area that was not hailing comms. Now, this is from the local news sources that had been told this. I don't know by who. And then they related that to the radio station that goes out to that area for their national news that goes out to everybody else. So, that's as far as I can verify that. Whether or not that's true, it matches the submarine report that happened in Hawaii recently, the Russian submarine. I don't even see. This is how fucked up it is, because I don't even know if that submarine was Chinese and there was another boat that was out there that was Russian. I believe it was. Things are kind of fucked up right now. But bear with me. This is what the report said. I just want people to know exactly what is being said, what is being told to people, and the more that we know together, the more safe we are. But the whole point is not to be panicking, which is why I think they didn't want to tell people that, because they couldn't verify that. But keep in mind, only within the past couple of years have they been able to successfully shoot drones and balloon-style spyware out of submarines from underneath the water. So they don't have to breach the water in order to shoot these things out and have them be able to fly after they break the surface, whether it be a drone or a balloon. This was not a capability we had a few years ago, and it's not a capability a lot of people know about. It's very experimental, but it does work now. And there are different styles of it being developed. That's what I mean by experimental. It does work, and this is what's been told and patented. So, I mean, it's something you can look up on your own as well. But the fact that they have that, and the fact that there was an initial report of a submarine out there, could mean some massive indications for a possible attack to come out. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm saying that the possibility is always there for something to happen regardless, but that's probably why it wasn't released to the public right away, that information, or it was released to the public and then the story didn't go very far, is because they couldn't verify anything more about it. It wasn't seen again. Or maybe it wasn't seen at all and it was just a misrepresented report because this thing hit the ice. The flying object. So there's a lot of fucked up shit going on right now, and that's why I want to make sure that people don't get their lines crossed. And I wanted to wait to the end of this video to release that information. And now, in the next video, I'm going to reintroduce this information again, and then we're going to talk about that specific event and what that could mean, and then and how that relates to the Lake Huron UFO object. Because keep in mind, all these objects have been either near water or shot over water. except for the Yukon one. And that was the one that NORAD went after. I don't know much about this, but I'm just reporting what I'm being told and what I see all together, which is difficult for most people to do nowadays. So, also keep in mind, past couple of years we've been seeing things like the Mexican orb, the big metal ball that fell out of the sky that nobody wanted to claim or say anything about, but there was like weird numbers and letters on it that nobody could discern, but then the Mexican Navy came and picked it up and told the whole town to shut the fuck up. So, like, you know, because Mexican's rough. Mexico is very fucking rough. So I don't pretend to know anything about Mexico. I don't know anything about Mexico or Mexicans. I don't know anything about any of that shit. I know nothing. Except for that little bit that was holding the news. And it's like, oh, well, you know, news is fake and shit. And it's like, well, some of it ends up being true. And then we're like, well, why didn't we listen? It's like, well, there you go. You know, a little bit of information for you that could be true if you got to re-verify it for yourself. I mean, you have to verify this stuff for yourself. You have to check out other sources. You have to see the opposing side of what I'm talking about. So if there's someone that says that all of this is bullshit and here's the proof, we need to see it. But at the same time, we also need to know that we're safe. So we'll be right back with NFG Podcast with Jay the Usual. It's Jay the Usual with NFG Podcast. The more we grow, the more we show, the more you view, the more we do. So make sure to share, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss a thing. Stay updated and posted. Check out other sources. Let us know where you got those sources from, and we'll let you know once we get a little bit of time on our hands. I'll write down the name of I'll have to write down every single news station. I probably look through every single damn one. And we always go to all the way down to the town's local news source, and even the law enforcement that first got the whatever place or whatever the hell happened, whoever made the first report, to try to figure out exactly how accurate the report is. Otherwise, we wouldn't know anything about this submarine report. Not even saying it's true, I'm just saying the report exists. That's all I'm saying.